What's going on, everyone? It's Adrian from Draft Time, and I'm going to give you my studs, sleepers, and value picks for today for the NBA, for FanDuel, and DraftKings. Okay, today is November 13th, 2019, and we have a 7-game slate tonight. Some pretty big games, including the Clippers at the Houston Rockets, which should be a pretty good game. And at the end of the video, I'm going to give you the default top lineups that are generated by using the lineup optimizers, which you can access on drafttime.com. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to go over my top value guys for today. My first pick is going to be Robert Williams from the Celtics, starting for Daniel Tice tonight. Most likely, Tice is listed as doubtful right now. He's been pretty productive in the games that he's played over 20 minutes. He's had a 24.9 point game and a 40.4 fantasy point game in the games that he had over 20 minutes. And with him getting the start tonight, I don't see any reason why he won't get 20 plus minutes. We have him projected to score 26.81 on FanDuel and 24.64 on DraftKings, and his price is $3,900 on both FanDuel and DraftKings. So a really good value pick there, getting the start. My second value pick is Ben McLemore, who should be getting the start for Daniel House, who's listed as doubtful. Now, McLemore hasn't really been productive this season, but he should see a huge spike in minutes tonight with no House. Also, Eric Gordon's out, and they really don't have a lot of depth at that 3 position. Really, the only other guy that they have is Thabo Sefolosha. So, being that he's 3,500 on FanDuel and 3,100 on DraftKings, so he's basically min priced on both. He's definitely a good value pick. We have him projected to score 18.98 on FanDuel and 19.38 on DraftKings. So those are the 2 value picks for tonight. Not a whole lot of really good value picks, but those are two of them. Now I'm going to give you my studs for tonight. And my first stud, you got Russell Westbrook. He's $9,900 on FanDuel, and he's $8,900 on DraftKings. And we have him projected to score 48.34 on FanDuel and 50.93 on DraftKings. So he started off the season hot, but then he's had games of 22, 40, 33, and 44. Now, 2 of those games were actually blowouts. But I think that, with the Rockets' lack of depth tonight, which I talked about earlier when I was talking about Ben McLemore, I think that, the Rockets are going to depend on Russell Westbrook a lot more tonight, especially if Harden struggles against Kawhi Leonard. But not only that, the Rockets and the Clippers, they're both playing pretty good basketball right now. So it's very possible that this ends up being a really close game, and that these guys like Westbrook end up playing 36 plus minutes just because it's such a close game. Also, that Westbrook gets hyped for these big games. He has extra motivation. He plays kind of at an extra gear in these big games. Under $10,000 on FanDuel, and he's under $9,000 on DraftKings, and that's the main point as to why he's my top stud for tonight. Coming in next as my top stud, we got Anthony Davis going against the Golden State Warriors. He is $12,100 on FanDuel, and he's $9,400 on DraftKings. So definitely a way bigger value pick on DraftKings than on FanDuel. We have him projected to score 59.92 on FanDuel and 59.32 on DraftKings. But even though he is a lot more expensive on FanDuel, he's still my top stud for FanDuel because there's not a whole lot of options at power forward on FanDuel. He's gotten 20 plus points in all but 1 game this season, and his rebounding numbers are actually down at 10 rebounds per game, but he's still averaging 53.5 fantasy points per game. Now, the Warriors have actually given up a ton of fantasy points to opposing big men this season, so that's one of the reasons I also like Anthony Davis. He's actually listed as questionable right now, so you might want to keep an eye on that. Now, I'm going to give you my top sleeper for tonight. Okay, and that's going to be Dwayne Bacon of the Charlotte Hornets. I say that he's a sleeper because he only put up 1.2 fantasy points in his last game. Okay, so he has huge upside. I don't think he's going to be heavily owned, and he's extremely low priced. He's $3,800 on FanDuel, and he's $3,400 on DraftKings, which is the lowest price he's been all season on either site. He's projected to put up on our website 19 fantasy points on FanDuel and 19.51 on DraftKings. Now, although he had a bad game the last game, he's had a 41.2 point game and also a 36.5 point game already this season. He's still averaging 23 minutes in his last 5 games. And he's a guy who could heat up and get you some buckets. So he has huge upside, but also huge downside. That's why I say he's my top sleeper for tonight. So you might want to consider locking him into a couple of your lineups, okay? Now, speaking of lineups, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give you my top lineups for DraftKings and FanDuel that are generated by using this lineup optimizer, which you can access on drafttime.com. Again, I said this before in my previous video. You can sign up for a free trial and cancel anytime before the trial is done. It's a 7-day trial. But let's go ahead and generate lineups. Okay, so for DraftKings, we got Russell Westbrook, Ben Simmons, Ben McLemore, Rondé Hollis-Jefferson, Jaren Jackson, Anthony Davis, Jonas Valanciunas, and Hassan Whiteside, okay? Now let's go ahead and let's go to FanDuel, okay, and let's run the top lineup. And we got Ben Simmons, Russell Westbrook, Norman Powell, Bradley Beal, Mo Harkless, Troy Brown, Rondé Hollis-Jefferson, Anthony Davis, and Robert Williams, okay? So those are the top lineups. Now, I explained this before, but I'll go ahead and explain it again. If you want to lock in a player, okay, like let's say you want to lock in Dwayne Bacon, you could find them on the player pool and hit this lock button and then come over here and hit generate lineups. And now all these lineups have Dwayne Bacon.